Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Coming up on the First Take podcast, rappers Flo Rida and Wale will join us to discuss hot sports topics. Plus, we break down Duke's win over Wisconsin and what should happen when Adrian Peterson meets with the commissioner today. All that and more coming up on the First Take podcast, which starts right now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Take. I'm Carrie Champion in studio with Skip Bayless. Stephen A. Smith is in Indy. The gang's all here. Stephen A., what a game last night. You saw it up close and personal.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It was a great game. No doubt about it. Happy I was here.
Did it count? You were there.
Of course it counted.
Oh, good.
Because I was here.
All right. I watched it on TV. I wasn't sure it counted. But I'll take it.
You'll take it.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
I'm sure you'll take it. I got a secret for you, Skip. Even when I'm in attendance, I'm still watching it on TV. So it always counts when you're watching as well.
Okay. I'll take it.
See how much of a team player I am?
You see that?
See?
Yeah. We'll see how much you actually know about the game, because I think you were kibitzing a lot with your buddies.
Kibitzing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm always working the room, baby.
Yeah.
I'm always working the room.
The gentleman, as usual. On the show today, we will talk about the game, the players, the coaches, the national championship in just a few moments. But first, let me remind you of what we have on the show. Adrian Peterson meets with the commissioner. There's word that Tiger Woods is taking over at Augusta. Not exactly, but we discussed that. Also, Wale and Flo Rida will join us at the debate desk. But first, let's talk about the game. Stephen A. was there. It was legit. Skip watched it. It was legit. Wisconsin was the best team in college basketball this season when it came to playing a foul-free game. But during the title game last night, they got called for 13 fouls in the second half, more than the Badgers had averaged all season long. After the loss, Bo Ryan on officiating and more. He goes, you just have to be able to handle all the hands and the checking. There was more body contact in this game than any game we've played all year. And I just feel sorry for my guys that all of a sudden a game was like that. I think they're struggling with that a little bit. We missed some opportunities. They hit some tough shots. But, you know, it's just a shame that it had to be played that way.
Every player that's played through the program, okay? We don't do a rent a player. You know what I mean? Try to take a fifth-year guy or whatever, and that's okay. If other people do that, that's great. I like trying to build from within. It's just the way I am. And to see these guys grow over the years, and to be here last year and lose a tough game, and boom, they came back. They said what they wanted to do, and they put themselves into that position, and they won't forget this for a long time.
All right, so Bo Ryan on the officiating and seemingly taking a shot at one-and-done players. Skip Bayless, you heard all of his comments. We just took a moment there. Inbounds or out of bounds?
Man, Stephen A., this to me was stunningly out of bounds from a coach, Bo Ryan, who's handled himself so beautifully with such class and such dignity through a great playoff run, tournament run for the University of Wisconsin Badgers. And I just, when I saw this first last night on CBS, I was taken aback because this was so not Bo Ryan. This was so beneath him. This was so classless. Bo, you're better than that, aren't you? And then I sat back the way we did yesterday with the kid who had played in Andrew Harrison, and I thought, well, Bo had just left a locker room full of kids who were crying their eyes out. And he was obviously devastated and frustrated, and he lashed out at the first possible target, the referees. It's their fault. I'm going to blame the referees. And Stephen A., I've said for years on this show, college basketball officiating is routinely amateurish. Every game I watch, I'm like, oh, no, it goes back and forth. It's usually lousy both ways, and last night I thought it was lousy both ways. The referees did not decide our national championship game. In the end, Tyus Jones decided the national championship game. But Wisconsin also benefited from what I thought were some very debatable calls against Kentucky. We talked about that. And remember, Wisconsin benefited through this regular season. They were called for the fewest fouls in America, in part because Bo Ryan teaches them not to foul, and in part because the referees start to see them as the team that has the reputation of not fouling, so not many maybe are called on Wisconsin. So in the end, Bo Ryan did a great job of teaching and coaching this basketball team, and now he's going to leave a lot of folks with the lasting impression of, oh yeah, he was the guy who sour graped it and criticized the referees after the loss in the championship game. Your thoughts?
Well, we usually don't want to start the show off, considering the fact that this is a debate show. We usually don't want to start off agreeing, but I think in this particular instance, it's apropos. I completely and totally agree with what you had to say about Bo Ryan. He did come across as classless. He did come across as petty, and it was incredibly surprising considering the level of class and decorum he has shown throughout his illustrious career, whether it be in Division II or here at Wisconsin. The reality is that he's one of the elite coaches in the game of basketball. He's done a phenomenal job with that program, and he's better than this. And for him to come across articulating things the way that he did last night in the aftermath of that devastating loss, I'm not going to give him the pass that I would give a kid, because he's a grown man, very, very experienced at what he does, and he's supposed to know how to handle himself considerably better than he actually ended up doing. Now to get to the specifics of the game itself. Bo Ryan dropped the ball on several occasions. Now, obviously, they equaled Duke in the rebounding category, but I recall Jahlil Okafor and Justice Winslow both getting in foul trouble early with 2 fouls in the first half. Not early in the first half, but they got into foul trouble in the first half. Coach K yanked them out of the game, went to a 2-3 zone. There was no dribble drive penetration after that. There was no attacking of the basket after that. You looked at this guy, and you're saying Jahlil Okafor is gone. Justice Winslow is not in the game, and Wisconsin wasn't attacking nearly as much as they should have. That's point number one. Point number two, when you look at the guard play on Duke, and again, Tyus Jones definitely, deserved to be the MVP of this national championship game. He was absolutely sensational. He deserves a lot of credit for it, no doubt, but Duke's defense clamped down, and collectively, cumulatively, they deserve a lot of credit as well. Number three, you also look at Bo Ryan, and again, he was a bit passive in terms of really, really going after Okafor and those boys, and even when they were out the game, he still wasn't making any adjustments whatsoever to anything that Mike Krzyzewski had done. It's like he came in with a game plan. He was very stoic about it, very rigid, wouldn't maneuver, wouldn't make adjustments himself, and ultimately Mike Krzyzewski figured him out, particularly when they went up 9. All of a sudden, Duke got all up in them, and they didn't know what to do. Sam Decker did not play his best game. I thought he regressed back to the inconsistency that they had lamented about his game throughout the regular season. You know how high I was in terms of his stock leading into the national championship game. He took a step back for me last night. Kaminsky played a good game, decent game. It was effective. It wasn't quiet, but it wasn't lights out either, because there were lapses in his game. And then you had, other guys, the Nigel Hayes of the world, the Konigs of the world. They played decently enough in terms of the numbers, but could they have been a bit more aggressive? Yes, they could have, particularly considering the way Duke's guards were playing and how they were coming at them. They didn't do that. They didn't answer the bell, and that's why they ultimately lost. They should have won this game in my estimation. Obviously, I picked them to win this game. They had the game in their hands, and then Duke amped it up, and they didn't respond. They didn't respond. They didn't wilt. They didn't shy away. They weren't scared. But at the same time, they went away from their aggressive nature, and that's what cost them a national championship, along with their coach, who showed an unwillingness. I don't want to say an inability, because we know he has all of the abilities in the world as a coach, but he showed an unwillingness to adjust to what Coach K was throwing at him, whether it was with Cook, whether it was with Jefferson, whether it's with this kid Grayson, who showed up. Good Lord have mercy. He saved their shot at the national championship the way this kid Allen Grayson balled. He was sensational. Got to give a lot of credit. Got to give a lot of credit. Duke won the game.
I got to ask, are you suggesting that maybe Bo Ryan was attempting to deflect some blame off his coaching blunders by attacking the referees, or even this whole idea of we don't do rent-a-players, which I thought was a real shot at Coach K and Duke, who's now, they've quote-unquote resorted to doing the one-and-dones. So do you think there was some method to the madness?
Well, I don't think it was method to the madness. I think he was bitter. And I think his true feelings came out because he was bitter at having lost the national championship. If he had won, you would never hear him. You would never have heard him say that. Renter players or whatever the case may be. To me, it was a shot at both Krzyzewski and Coach Calipari, to be quite honest with you. And I look at it, and you would have never heard that from him had he won. They lost this game, and I think they lost this game in part because of Bo Ryan, but definitely because of their guard play, and obviously because Decker, you know, there were advantages. He was supposed to be a monster in this game, and he pretty much got held in check. Decker, I don't care what the numbers show, he had even though it's 12 points, he had a very pedestrian performance, to say the least. He was really not that big of a factor. I was very disappointed in Decker.
Well, again, I tried to tell you the other day, he was a 32% three-point shooter through the regular season, and all of a sudden he was a 50% three-point shooter through the first games of the tournament up to the championship game, and then he went 0 for 6 last night. Maybe he reverted back to more the normal Decker shooting threes.
But as I tried to tell you, I don't base my opinions about basketball players based on them having a hot hand. I watch their game. I look at a guy that's 6'9" and can handle the rock and get to the hole, get to the free throw line. He can do those things. I'm not concerned about his ability to shoot threes against Arizona or Kentucky. That didn't mean nearly as much to me as I witnessed his ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the hole. But again, it's also a testament to Duke's guards, because they knew to some degree that Wisconsin had an advantage on their front line because of the combination of Kaminsky and Decker's size. But Duke had an advantage with quickness. And as Coach Jim Calhoun, who was out here on behalf of SportsCenter, a 3-time national championship coach with UConn, was talking to me and educating me about, he always preached to his guards, you know, the Kimball Walkers of the world, the Shabazz Napiers of the world, and others. He had always preached to miniature guards. When you got guys that are going to put the ball on the floor, that's your domain. It's not your domain when they hold the ball up because you're short. But when they put the ball low, that's your world, and you can attack them. And that's what Duke's guards were doing. It got to a point where, I'm not saying literally this was the case, but it appeared, Skip, as if Decker was literally afraid to put the ball on the floor and attack because those guards were going to come out of nowhere and suffocate him. They've got quick hands. They've got quick feet. They know how to defend. I'm talking about Cook. I'm talking about Tyus Jones. They know how to defend, and I think that helped the front court players neutralize Decker, and that was what was a bit disconcerting, to be honest with you. But I expected more from Decker.
I also tried to tell you that just straight up, Justice Winslow would shut down Sam Decker. And I believe
I don't believe that.
Well, he did for much. He was the primary defender a lot of the time.
I didn't see it that way.
Okay, which is why Justice Winslow should be the 3rd pick in the draft, behind Carl Anthony and behind Okafor. And before we leave Kaminsky behind, I got to give him one big round of applause here. I got to tell you, he's a lottery pick to me. And, you know, I'm tough on this.
Yes, he is.
Hey, you want to talk about skill? You want to talk about quick feet for 7 feet tall? You want to talk about mentally tough? That 3 he made late to just sort of give them a last gasp of air? This young man can play NBA basketball. I'm not saying he'll change somebody's life, but he could be a starter for a good team. So I would take him in the lottery.
Kaminsky, you're right about that. You're right. We slept on Kaminsky just a little bit. We knew he could play, but in terms of projecting for the next level, and then he shows up last night. Now, granted, Okafor was defending him, and Okafor can't defend cats on the perimeter. We understand that. But Kaminsky does have an outside shot. He does have that ability one day, for me, Skip, if he can continue to improve on his shot, to be somebody similar to a Dirk Nowitzki. He has that kind of ability. I'm saying the potential. Of course, he's not there. I'm talking about years down the road. He has that potential. As it pertains to Decker and Winslow, Winslow definitely to me is better than Decker. Don't get me wrong, but I'm telling you, when you know that you've got these quick guards that are going to suffocate and collapse and help their front court players defend, that's going to limit what you're capable of doing, because you don't have the confidence to put the ball on the floor and deal with somebody on your own, because you know they're going to have help.
Yeah, all I know is the Clippers right now could use Kaminsky, because they don't have that guy right now.
All right, well, let's talk
He
about
can do it 3 or 4 for them.
Yeah.
the four freshmen. Duke's four freshmen, Justice Winslow, Jahlil Okafor, Tyus Jones, and Grayson Allen scored 60 of their 68 points. Jones led the way with 23 points, the most ever by a Duke freshman in a title game. Grayson Allen off the bench with 16 to lift Coach K and the Blue Devils to their 5th national title. The surprise of the game spoke out about the win.
I can't put it in perspective right now. It's just so surreal. None of this has hit me yet. It's just so amazing. It honestly doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like I just won a national championship. It's too overwhelming right now.
All right, so Skip, in your opinion, you weren't there, but I'm sure you have an idea.
I did watch it, believe it or not.
Okay, so the biggest reason they won.
In the end, Stephen A., it was Tyus Jones. I said before the game, I said on the show yesterday, I tweeted before the game, I thought he would be the star of the night. This young man at age 18 has an old basketball soul. He has that look in his eye of a veteran NBA point guard. He wants the ball in his hands in the biggest moments. He's going to take the biggest shots, and he is going to make the biggest free throws. So in the end, he's their deal closer. Obviously, you mentioned Grayson Allen. He's a talent. He just didn't get many minutes this year because of those two guards were so great all year for Duke. You could argue the best backcourt in America, as Quinn Cook often did. But Grayson Allen has the highest vertical on the team. And what I loved about Grayson Allen was he came off the bench in the national championship game, in the semifinal also, with zero fear, zero hesitation. They're down 9. He scores 8 straight points fearlessly. So that was obviously huge to put them in position to close the deal. Now, my unsung hero of the night was Emile Jefferson, Stephen A. I cannot express what a huge role he played. Do you realize he played 21 minutes and Jahlil only played 22 minutes because of foul trouble? And also the fact, as you point out, Jahlil just couldn't deal with Kaminsky. For whatever reason, inside, outside, he just couldn't draw a bead on him. Emile Jefferson did. Emile Jefferson in 21 minutes had 7 rebounds and 3 blocked shots, and I thought did a much better job defensively of just standing off, just holding off Kaminsky. And in those stretches that Emile Jefferson was in the game, Kaminsky went a little quiet. So he did a much better defensive job. So, again, he kept them afloat by keeping Kaminsky from the rim and from the three-point line. Your thought?
Well, I definitely agree with you, and I give my man Jay Williams, college basketball analyst for Game Day, credit, because he was telling me before the game, Emile Jefferson, keep your eyes on him, Emile Jefferson, because I kept saying the reason why I'm reticent about going with Duke is because I think they're going to get Jahlil Okafor in foul trouble, and if they get him in foul trouble, how are you going to answer that? I'm like, Plumlee? They're like, no, Emile Jefferson. He can go out there and he can defend, and that's exactly what he did, because he's more agile, he's more mobile than Jahlil Okafor, so he's more capable of defending on the perimeter. He's a guy that, he's more like a 4. He's not a legitimate, bona fide big man center who wants to defend 10 feet away from the basket. He can extend, which was problematic for Kaminsky. And, of course, this kid, Grayson Allen, I remember him, Skip, because remember when I had to be the keynote speaker at the McDonald's All-American festivities, I also had to be a judge with the slam dunk contest, and Grayson Allen won that slam dunk contest.
Yeah.
I was one of the judges.
Yeah.
This kid's got hops.
Did you,
and he could
did
play,
you vote for him?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Make sure.
But I got to tell you, what I got to tell you is what I did not expect. What I did not expect was the fearlessness that he had coming off the bench. Coming off the bench, you're trying to just fit in, you're trying to make sure that you don't tick off the coach, et cetera, et cetera. He didn't do any of that. He just went out there and played. And he saved their shot at a national championship, because if he didn't go on a roll that he went on, Duke would have lost this game. because Tyus Jones wouldn't have been in a position to take over the way that he did. Jahlil Okafor comes off the bench. He scores 2 baskets. Tyus Jones hits 2 baskets, including a big-time 3. There's no question he's got the heart of a lion. I wish he was a bit taller because I'd be raving about him being a top overall pick because he's got game and he's got guts.
He does.
He's just miniature as a point guard. So on the next level, but here on this collegiate level, this brother's a leader, and I'm telling you, as long as he's at Duke, they're gonna be in position to win more championships with Tyus Jones. Everybody was raving about how Tyler Eulis from Kentucky got the best of him in Summer League. Well, what I saw from Tyus Jones in this NCAA tournament, I'm sorry, Eulis is gifted and good and all of that stuff, but maybe Calipari is holding him back because I ain't see from him what I saw from Tyus Jones. Maybe it's because he had the Harrison twins to play playing in front of him. But Tyus Jones is special. He deserved MVP honors. He put forth a sensational performance, and he outplayed every guard Wisconsin put in front of him. And he is the primary reason that Duke captured a national championship last night.
Last quick thought. Coach K. I could make a case that was his greatest, Coach Krzyzewski's, in-game strategic job he's ever done in a championship game, because he's dealing with only 8 players deep, three coming off the bench. They have little to no depth.
4 scholarship players.
That you could trust. Could you trust? Yeah, you're right. Can you trust Grayson Allen coming off the bench? Can you really trust Emil Jefferson? Well, not only did he trust them, he had the guts to stick with them. They both came in right on time, so the chess master was again playing masterful chess with his pieces, both putting them in at the perfect moment to save the foul-plagued starter, and then sticking with them through stretches just because, obviously, Coach K's instincts are saying, I got to ride it. I got to ride it a little more. I got to ride him a little more. I got to ride Grayson all the way to the end. I got to give Emil a couple of more minutes here on Kaminsky because he's holding him off. So, again, what a great job by the greatest coach in the land, Mike Krzyzewski.
Wow.
He's proven to be the best coach in a modern era, and one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen in the history of all sports. This guy is on another level. You just can't deny it. And, you know, there were questions yesterday on College Game Day as to how do you compare him with John Wooden, because obviously with the 5 national titles, with so many trips to the Final Four matching John Wooden, the comparisons are going to be brought up, even though John Wooden's got the number, double the number of titles that he has. But in the end, when you look at Mike Krzyzewski, he's transcended. He was getting teams to the Final Four in the 80s. He was winning Final Fours in the 90s. You know, he did it in 2001, then again in 2010, and now here we are in 2015, where the game has evolved. The rules have changed. The personnel is different. You got one and dones now and all of this other stuff. And somehow, some way, it does not matter whether it's on the collegiate level, whether it's in the Olympic basketball competition, coaching the greatest players in the world, for imploring them to be patriotic, to know.
Well, there you go. That was it. We heard it all. We got it, Stephen A. So Flo Rida is here on behalf of his new album, My House. You hear it. It's available on iTunes today, so go out and get it. Congrats. It's on the Billboard 100, of course. Why wouldn't it be? And before we get to that, we got to talk to you. Before the commercial break, without hesitation, we said, who wins the big fight? You went directly to Floyd.
I mean, besides Floyd being family, I've got a chance to see him train. I'm a guy who trains very hard in the gym. And just seeing the level of, his training, I mean, he's like a machine, nonstop. He's a guy who doesn't play. Like, I mean, with me, with music, I give him my all. And just watching him, he definitely gives it. He's one of those guys who just knows he's going to conquer something.
So, you have you lifted weights with him, or what?
I've seen him train, and I train very hard. But going in with him, he's a guy. You might just be having a conversation with him, and he decides to go jogging 7 miles. So Floyd, man.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with him last night, and I called him, and he was just like, I was training at the time. I really would have got in touch with you, but what's up? And I look forward to going to the fight and supporting him,
What's his mentality like? You talked to him last night. Is he focused on the fight? Is he talking about the fight to you?
Well, he wasn't talking about the fight. He was just talking about training. But, he's self-motivated, self-driven, and that's what it takes to be a champion.
So obviously you're completely biased, right?
Definitely going for Floyd. we haven't lost yet, and we ain't losing.
Stephen A. Flo Rida's here.
Well, I'm just trying to, I appreciate it. I really didn't need to say anything. I appreciate the education he's espousing upon Skip Bayless, because Lord knows Skip needs it. I mean, the poor soul is just lost right now. He really, really believes that Pacquiao is going to win this fight. But one of the things, Flo, that I'm thinking about, when I spent time with Floyd, he tried to deny it, but I think he knows this is not just any other fight. Eventually, he was willing to admit that this is not just any other fight. Do you see the same Floyd that you've always seen, or is there something visibly different in him right now that you've never seen before in all the years you've known him?
I mean, one thing I say about Floyd, I mean, he has this attitude where he doesn't compromise. Like I said, man, just watching somebody like him train is like unbelievable. I thought I was a hard worker in the gym, but he goes hard, and he has his team that they're not just yes men, they're people that have been around him for quite a while. And it's not just about you, it's about your team, and they make sure that he's always on point. And I mean, he talks like a winner. Everyone, like, a lot of times if we're around him and his friends, and we don't just sit up there and talk, I mean, pay attention to him because he has all his money and things like that, because a lot of us are very fortunate. But everything that he says, I mean, he does. He's not just a talker. He shows it with action. He hasn't lost yet.
Well, I know that, but I'm asking you, being around him, because I know in the times that I've spent with him, it was pretty much the same, but there was a little difference, because this is Pacquiao. It's the magnitude. It's the big fight. It's something that people are going to use as an excuse to try and define his legacy. Do you see anything different at all about him?
I mean, the thing is with Floyd is, he's a veteran of not losing, and when you look at his opponent, he's lost. So if he tell you he's going to win the fight, who you going to go with? You got to put your life on it. Who you going to go with? I'm going with Floyd.
So
I'm going with Floyd.
Could I break up this love fest for just a moment to point out, just in the sake of objectivity, that Freddie Roach said yesterday, Manny Pacquiao is a workout freak. He used the word freak. That he stays in supreme shape, that he was playing professional basketball in the Philippines. I'm not saying he's a great basketball player.
He's not.
We know he's not.
Yes.
But then the next thing I know, Floyd's posting a video of him shooting little shots from the baseline.
And making it too.
Yeah, he posted the one he made. He didn't post the 24 he missed, but that's a whole other issue. And I'm not saying Manny's a great basketball player, but he does play. Manny does play in a professional league, so he's running constantly up and down the court. And, of course, Floyd is scared to death about the PED issues that he accused Manny of. So we know that Manny was born strong because he sued Floyd and company for all those allegations that they leveled about PEDs. So one guy was born strong with punching power. The other guy was born without punching power and with brittle hands. Floyd's always had a problem with his hands getting busted up. So I'm not sure where all this has come from. I'm just trying to be objective here.
I mean, for what I know and a lot of times it's not how you start. It's how you finish. And every time Floyd finished, what'd he get?
He got it. But how many Pacquiaos has he fought? I can't even remember anybody he's fought. Can you, Stephen A? Has he fought anybody?
How many Floyds has Pacquiao fought?
Well, that's a fair point. But we got a Pacquiao who has equal hand speed to Floyd and more punching power. So who are you going to pick? I think I'm going to go with the guy with the punching power.
Well, me personally, I'm always motivated by, my stats. That's definitely always inspiring.
You got stats?
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure Pacquiao, he's super nervous because he's taking some loss.
Okay.
Floyd hasn't taken any losses.
All right, I got one last stat for you. And this is an irrevocable stat. Nobody can change this stat, because it's Father Time stat.
Okay.
One guy is 36 years of age, that's Manny Pacquiao. The other guy is 38 years old, and that's Floyd Mayweather, not so junior, right?
Skip.
Yeah.
One guy is being accused consistently of being an individual who never sleeps. another guy can be a marketer for Ambien.
Okay.
I mean, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's all you got. You got to read for Ambien. Somebody is on the run named Stephen A. Smith. Let's reach for the Ambien joke.
Smith, be nice, Smith.
Wait. Mr. Stephen A. Smith, could you please explain to me why your man is 38 years old? Wait, he's almost 39.
And I would try.
38?
I would try to get him.
All right, so let's switch topics. Let's talk about the Heat, shall we? So conference standings-wise, they're on the outside looking in. What chances do you give them to making the playoffs?
Well, honestly, earlier I said my man's name wrong, but my boy Whiteside, definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to a great year next year, because, injuries and things like that. My man, fortunately, Chris Bosh is out of it, definitely he's in my prayers. But as far as us doing anything, a lot of times I'm always talking mess, talking
You
junk.
are.
Man, we going to the championship. I look forward to us having a great season next year. We got a great point guard. And
so you pretty much let this one go.
Yeah, I let this
It's like
one go.
not meant to be, right?
Yeah, but, definitely still a Heat fan for life.
Well, it's interesting. First of all, Flo, I'm very, very proud of you because, see, you need to take that position because this year really doesn't matter. Skip, I'm here in Indianapolis. You saw Dwayne Wade in Miami come here and play Indiana on Sunday, Paul George's return. I was at the game. I'm just looking at these guys, and it's like, look, here's the deal. When you look at Miami, if Chris Bosh had not gone down, with Goran Dragic here, with D-Wade playing the way that he's been playing, with Hassan Whiteside doing what he has been doing, a legitimate argument could be made that if the seedings allowed, Miami could have met Cleveland in the conference finals.
Fair chance.
To me, I'm almost at the point where I don't want them to make the playoffs, Skip, because I don't want them to bow out early because they don't have horses, and I don't want unnecessary wear and tear on the body of Dwayne Wade, who's been playing in the June the last 4 years. If you go home before the postseason, I don't mind sitting there and imagining Dwayne Wade resting since April, and then he coming back next year, and Chris Bosh coming back next year, and the whole crew coming back next year ready to do their thing. I wouldn't mind seeing that. So it doesn't matter to me what happens to Miami this year. It's about next year and beyond. Pat Riley said it best. Don't judge him by this year. Over the course of the next 5 years, let's see who does what. He's highly motivated. Obviously, the rest of the franchise is. Let's see what goes down when they can stay healthy.
Definitely, it's going down for real. Believe that.
Okay, I'm with you, Stephen A., on this, except as we've talked about here recently, Dwayne Wade has had 3 recent 30-plus scoring games. Then he banged his knee on the floor and bruised it or whatever happened. I think it shook him up, scared him because he's had trouble with both his knees.
And then came back and dropped 24 and 27.
He did, but I even thought this team without Chris Bosh was starting to look like it could at least threaten Cleveland in the first round if it could get the 7th seed. At least push them a little bit.
Not Cleveland.
Put a little fear in.
Not Cleveland, not in the first round. No, not. You need all your horses for that kind of matchup. To go up against LeBron in the first round of the playoffs before wear and tear, additional wear and tear kicks in. No, you need more than that. So I don't want Miami up against Cleveland unless they got all their horses in tow.
Okay.
That's me.
You're right. But, it was definitely watching, my team give them a go.
Okay.
Christmas.
Speaking of
Christmas
LeBron,
Day.
we have not had you on the show to ask you what your feelings were when LeBron took off and went home.
Well, definitely I thought it was a joke. I got the phone call that, LeBron was possibly leaving, but after winning, a couple of rings and having the same team that won the championship, I thought maybe he'll stay. But fortunately, he left. Definitely at this point, I do understand that, you always want to do something great for your hometown. So understandable, but I was definitely in my feelings.
Okay, so what does that mean? You were in your feelings.
I was pretty upset. I'm like, man, let's go get another ring.
Yeah.
Let's have a 3-peat, at least.
So do you hold it against him in your heart of hearts?
No, because I'm a fan of LeBron regardless.
Okay.
Definitely a fan of LeBron. Definitely a fan of guys like Michael Jordan. So, you can't hate on greatness.
Stephen A.
Yeah.
All right, you're good with that.
I mean, that's a perfectly logical explanation. I still haven't listened. Listen, it's the family, it's friends, it's loved ones. Because no disrespect. But Cleveland ain't South Beach. I mean, can we just leave it at that? It's hard to imagine. Let me tell you something. I told Skip, you remember that? Skip, it was like a week before. You know, first of all, it was a year before when I reported that's what I was hearing. And then it was months before I kept hearing that, and I came to you, Skip. And then it was about a week or two beforehand, and I said, I don't believe it. I refuse to believe it. I can't. There's no truth to this. I cannot believe what I'm hearing that he's going to believe South Beach.
I guess
just
it's no
never
place
believed
like
it.
home.
All right, so Flo,
believed
the fans are still the same, though. You're saying the fan base is still in Miami?
Yeah, man.
Even with that?
I think for the fact that, you have a lot of people traveling from around the world, who potentially, they would love to go to a game where they meet LeBron James, but, I think we built the franchise up enough that everyone's just Heat fans. Everywhere I travel around the world, I see people with Heat jerseys and different things.
So it's a bad rap when people say they're bandwagon fans.
I don't think they're bandwagon.
Okay.
I think they're fans of the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Although you've been personally busy, but you also haven't been able to attend some games or many games, maybe because you've lost a little heart for what's happened? Not at all?
Not at all. Anytime I'm in town, I'm definitely going to the games. All the time.
All right. So Flo Rida has partnered with the ESPN NCAA Tournament Challenge Contest. As a part of that contest, you have two people here with him today hanging out. They're part of his entourage. I know you have to do the car wash, as we call it. Enjoy your time on campus. Again, My House is available on iTunes today. Your singles on the Billboard 100. Congratulations. We wish you the best.
Thank you. Shout out to my man John B. and Josh, the winners.
Adrian Peterson will meet with Roger Goodell today, but Peterson's reinstatement to the NFL will unlikely happen before April 15th, according to our Ed Werder. In November, AP agreed to a plea deal of no contest on one count of misdemeanor reckless assault of his son. He is still on the commissioner's exempt list. So, Stephen A., there's a lot to discuss, I assume, when he meets with the commissioner. So what do you believe will happen at the meeting?
Well, I don't think anything will happen at the meeting today. I know that Adrian Peterson, for what I'm being told, has been in counseling, that he's followed all the requisite steps the NFL and others have deemed necessary, and that essentially he's meeting with Roger Goodell to report that he should be in excellent standing as it pertains to being reinstated into the National Football League. That's really what this comes down to, but I don't anticipate that any ruling will come down from Roger Goodell today. I think that Roger Goodell and the NFL personnel are just interested in listening to what Adrian Peterson has to say, what level of information he's willing to elocute to them. They want to make sure that he's performed all of his community service, that he's fulfilled all of his obligations according to the courts, and that is that. Having said all of that, what I would say is this. I would sincerely hope that that's what this meeting is about and that they're able to move forward, because what I'm interested in making sure does not happen is that the commissioner, Roger Goodell, or anybody associated with the NFL league office doesn't believe that they're in a position where they get to tell people how to parent. Now, we understand that those slash marks on Adrian Peterson's child was excessive in my eyes and Skip Bayless' eyes, as far as I'm concerned, in the eyes of anybody with two eyes and 20/20 vision. It is clear that it looked as if it was abuse. There is no denying that. And we understand that. You have people in our society, everybody calling around up to my radio show and beyond. Some people believe in corporal punishment, some people don't, all of this other stuff. I get how confusing that should be. But in the process of that confusion taking place and unfolding before our very eyes, Skip, I also believe there's a line that needs to be drawn in the sand where it's clear what line the commissioner himself should not cross. And that's what I'm concerned about here. We understand you don't need to be hitting your child like that. Sure. We understand you don't need to be using tree branches and all of that other stuff. We understand that child abuse is child abuse, whether it's one time or 100 times. It never should happen. We get all of that. But outside that's a line that you can definitely draw a line there and say that's a line that you don't cross. Outside of that, I don't want this to regress in a situation where if a child is acting up, and dare I say, Adrian Peterson took the palm of his hand and slapped the child on the backside once, all of a sudden it's news because he spanked his child once with the palm of his hands, and all of a sudden we're having an abuse issue. Let's make sure that we don't go too far with this, and understand that the commissioner should not be in any position where he gets to police something like that. That's my concern.
Okay. I hear you. I don't want to try to retry this case. I don't think the commissioner wants to retry this case.
Okay.
This is my take from a distance. Remember, Adrian brought some of this upon himself. Remember early on when the commissioner wanted to meet with him, Troy Vincent spoke out about, gee, we just wanted him to come to New York and show a little cooperation and maybe some contrition. Because it's a new day in the National Football League when it comes to the personal conduct policy. Obviously, there is a new hierarchy in place featuring several new female voices. Right. And this is time for checks and balances to take hold, where you have to make sure you want to see him. You want to see him face to face. You want to show the public we are doing all of our due diligence now because we're going to meet with them. We're going to cross-examine whether he is going through all the things Stephen A. just talked about, if he's going through all his counseling, has he done all of his due diligence, and they want to make sure that they don't sense new defensiveness or defiance from Adrian Peterson. And I think that's just fair because I think that's what the public wants. I think the fans want, make sure about this, and I'm pretty sure that Adrian will put up a good and authentic face to them. I think he is contrite. He's expressed that publicly, so I think he'll express it again today to the new hierarchy, which goes beyond just the commissioner and Troy Vincent. And then I think, I'm just guessing on this, I think we would then be on schedule for April 15th. Now, obviously, I keep telling you, I disqualify myself here. I'm a lifelong Cowboy fan, and I'm still holding out hope because I think it's what Adrian Peterson is holding out, that sooner than later, a deal could be made to ship him to the Dallas Cowboys, where he would finish his career in his home state with the team he grew up loving. That's on the sort of the back burner right now, but I think it's about to be on the front burner, which is why he's trying to, Adrian Peterson, expedite this so that for sure it could be April 15th reinstatement, because the Vikings are about ready in a couple of weeks from today to start their off-season program, and I do not think Adrian wants to be part of that off-season program.
Well, you also let's make sure that we understand everything doesn't have to be so calculating. The fact is, the NFL was the original ones who threw out the April 15th date. That's number one. Number two, Adrian Peterson, regardless of whether or not it was self-inflicted, and we all know that it was because it involved a 4-year-old child, and none of us are certainly about to blame him. The reality is that yes, Adrian Peterson did bring this on himself. But at the same time, he paid a hefty price as well. He didn't play in 15 games last year. He lost millions of dollars, and this situation has dragged on seemingly into perpetuity because there appears to be no definitive ending in sight because we're waiting for Roger Goodell. It's tantamount to what we went to, Skip, when we talked about other issues pertaining to the National Football League. Why are you dragging your feet? Why can't you just make decisions? Because the longer it takes for you to make decision, the more the subject matter keeps it in the mind's eye, which is why I got ticked off with Adrian Peterson just a few weeks ago when he was complaining about things, or his agents and representatives were complaining about things with the Minnesota Vikings, because my argument was, why would you want this in the news at that time when we're trying to get beyond your incident and what transpired in terms of you and the courts in Texas? Here you are reminding all of us of this because you're upset about what transpired in Minnesota. Regardless of what lingering things or, factored into the equation, the belief in most people's eyes were you want out now, that you felt they were a bit two-faced with you off of this incident. Well, What incident? Well, it's this one, the latest one, and that's all anybody's thinking about. So he contributes to that. But let's not get caught up in that to the point where we're so consistently and religiously pointing to the transgressions, the clear transgressions of players in the NFL that we let Roger Goodell off the hook for some of his mistakes in terms of his mishandling a lot of things. He has been nowhere close to flawless. He has been completely imperfect in a lot of scenarios. So much so that when the National Organization for Women had their issues with Ray Rice and beyond, they brought up what Roger Goodell's record was since 2006 when he took over. So if you're in that mind's eye and you're the commissioner, you know what? You're not perfect either. And we need to make sure we look at him and say, could you handle this stuff expeditiously, please? Can you address this instead of allowing stuff to linger on and on and on? It's Adrian Peterson, it's Ray Rice, it's the Flakegate. I mean, come on.
Look, big picture, do I think that Adrian Peterson, in my humble opinion, has been punished enough? I do. Now, should he have lost 6 game checks? That's going to court. That's being fought about over in court right now as we speak. It seems fair to me that he should lose 6 game checks. But again, U.S. District Court Judge David Doty ruled against the NFL. Now the NFL is appealing. That could go on for a long time. The point is it almost time for him to be reinstated? Sure, if he goes and says and does all the right things with this session today, yes.
Jahlil Okafor found himself on the bench for much of the night in that title game. Okafor was in foul trouble early and seemed outmatched by Frank Kaminsky in the lane. The freshman could not find his rhythm, but did have 2 key baskets down the stretch. He finished with 10 points and 3 rebounds. Our chat forward's latest big board has him as the number 2 pick behind one Karl Anthony Towns. So here's the question, Stephen A., and we talked about it yesterday. After what you saw last night, are you still convinced he should be the number 1?
Me personally, yes. But I have softened my stance on that just a little bit from this respect. The free throw shooting is a problem. Combine that with his inability to defend on the perimeter is a problem. Because I can easily see NBA folk looking at a Jahlil Okafor and saying, when he's on the court, let's get somebody that's going to pull him away from the basket a little bit. And that's going to cause problems for whatever team he's playing for. I still believe you don't teach what he has. You know, you're 6'11", 7 feet tall. You're a big body. You got trunks for legs. You've got great hands, big, soft hands. You know, you can make shots. You got an offensive repertoire that's unrivaled by any big man in the game of basketball. All those things are true. But I look at a guy like a Karl Anthony Towns, and I can understand why people would look at him ahead of Jahlil Okafor, because their thing is that he's interchangeable at the 4 or 5 spot. He could possibly score some in the post. He can definitely score on the perimeter. He runs the floor. He defends. And he hits free throws. And so you look at all of those things, and they'll say, well, considering today's NBA game and the way it has changed, we're going to go with Karl Anthony Towns. I'm just a guy that I don't believe you find a Jahlil Okafor every day. I think he's a once-in-a-generation kind of talent. I think what you saw last night and what you saw at some points this season is nothing compared to what you're going to see when he enters the next level. Although I will acknowledge his performance last night, albeit primarily due to foul trouble, was relatively pedestrian. I expected more from him. I was disappointed I didn't get more from him. The points offensively were primarily due to foul trouble. But there were some moves he made I wasn't impressed with. They seemed relatively weak for a guy his size, his strength, his moves. He should have made a couple of moves that were more power moves, but that happens. But defensively, he was a liability last night. Thank God they had Emil Jefferson, because if they didn't have Emil Jefferson, they might have lost the national title.
Man, you are stubborn, aren't you? You keep hanging in there, yet you concede to me he got schooled by Kaminsky, who he couldn't defend, and he can't make free throws. Both ways. I thought Kaminsky was just blowing by him. Kaminsky does have quick feet. But
that's perimeter.
I get it. He wound up with 4 fouls, foul trouble, lasted only 22 minutes in the game. I thought he didn't play some in the fourth quarter because he was such a free throw liability. He took 1 free throw last night and missed that one. 51% free throw shooter for the season. And I'm looking at this line, even in the 22 minutes, he got only 3 rebounds? Really? I agree with you. The size and the stature are highly impressive. The hand size, highly impressive. Sometimes the post work is highly mature and impressive. Although one time, I don't know if we have this clip, remember in the first half when he wheeled into the lane and Kaminsky just took the ball right out of his hands and went the other way with it? And I'm saying, Jaleel, what are you doing? I mean, you're better than that. Your hands are bigger and stronger than that. Kaminsky just took the ball right out of his hands. And I'm thinking, that's the #1 pick in the draft? And then Stephen A., 22 minutes, you had 0 block shots? Really? And yet Emil Jefferson comes off the bench at 6'9", and plays 21 minutes because you're in foul trouble and because you can't defend Kaminsky. And as I told you earlier, Emil Jefferson did a way better job of defending Kaminsky, held his own against Kaminsky while grabbing 7 rebounds, and Emil Jefferson had 3 blocks in 21 minutes. So should Emil Jefferson be the first pick in the draft? Obviously not. But I told you 2 months ago, Karl Anthony Towns has way more upside to me because he can flat out shoot it. And I used the old joke about Michael Jordan at North Carolina yesterday to you. The only person in college who could stop Michael Jordan was his coach, Dean Smith. And I thought Calipari sometimes stopped Karl Anthony because they just couldn't get him the ball where he could operate. And Kaminsky did do a really nice job when he did get the ball in the low post, although he often had help because there was another guy posting on the other side of the lane, and his defender would just come right over on Karl Anthony. Karl Anthony Towns can make 85% of his free throws. He can shoot it outside. He's got little baby hooks. He can block shots. I agree with you. His stature isn't yet what Jaleel's is already. Jaleel's got NBA stature about him. Karl Anthony needs to grow into his frame a little bit more. You talk about how his legs are a little I'm not going to say weak. They're just a little wobbly sometimes. And to make it in the man's league that the NBA is, obviously is the first overall pick, he's going to have to get in the weight room and grow both lower and upper body. But I think he can. I would go that direction, and I told you Justice Winslow is starting to be a close third for me because he can flat play NBA basketball any way you want to slice it. Like Justice Winslow can.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. But I don't look at it, I don't view it the way that you do. I mean, again, it's just a preference, Skip, and I think that's the point that everybody's missing when we're debating this topic. I don't refute the things that you nor anyone else says about Karl Anthony Towns. I'm simply saying that when you are a big boy, you don't find that every day. I look at Karl Anthony Towns' legs, and I don't see him as somebody that's going to be effective in the post. I see him somebody that's going to be effective a little bit away from the basket. I'm looking for a post presence, and the analogy that I use, Skip, and I talked to you about this the other day. If you remember when Michael Jordan was drafted, everybody lambasted the Portland Trailblazers for grabbing Sam Bowie. They had already had Clyde Drexler. That's why they went with a center, who, by the way, was out of Kentucky, and Sam Bowie, and decided to pass on Michael Jordan. And folks have never been forgiven for that. You have to remember the flip side. The #1 overall pick was Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon out of Houston. No one ever complained about that. No. And Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon never won a title until Jordan retired the first time around and then went and played baseball. That's when Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon won his 2 NBA titles. But why did no one complain, Skip? Because Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon was big time. And more importantly, you knew you didn't teach that size with that skill. He wasn't Michael Jordan. But you knew you couldn't lament it because anybody with sense would take a 6'11", 7-footer with those kind of requisite skills. And you work with it because you know you can't teach that kind of size. I look at Jahlil Okafor, and that's what I see. It's not that I don't know or appreciate what Karl Anthony Towns brings to the table. I know he's a top 2 pick. But I can't teach what I think Jahlil Okafor is going to give me on the offensive side of the ball for his size. I can't teach 7 foot with that ability. And that's why I choose to go in that direction. I believe I got a better shot at finding a Karl Anthony Towns than I do of finding another Jahlil Okafor. That's my argument.
2 last quick points. I still say Houston should have taken Michael Jordan.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, just seriously.
Okay.
I mean, when you look, I get it. You say, who could ever doubt them for taking Olajuwon? I'm still taking Michael Jordan. But that's just me, and that's easy 20/20 hindsight. Right. Quick last thought on Jahlil Okafor. In the semifinal on Saturday evening against Michigan State, do you remember the shot that he made where he stepped out and shot the Tim Duncan Memorial glass shot and made it from like, I don't know, 15 feet maybe.
About 15, 17 feet,
And it was the only flash that I've seen recently of him where I said, oh, you can do that. Oh, okay. Well, now that could change a few things.
Right.
But I only saw it one time. I didn't see it enough.
But you're looking at the move. I'm looking at the fact that he had the license to do it because evidently Coach K knew that he has abilities we may not yet know. That's how I look at it.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Wale is here making us laugh off camera and on. The new album, the album About Nothing, features Jerry Seinfeld, which you saw right there. It's available everywhere. Congrats on your success.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You have a belt here.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I mean, I just like to carry, belts with me, like when I'm doing well. You know what I mean? I got the #1 album in the country, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of me and my moons. Shout out to all my moons watching, and we did that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm proud of it, and this is just my homage to my.
Well, you realize this show puts you on the map.
I understand.
To begin with, right?
Condescending tone. I'm not digging that right now, Skip. And quite frankly, that your pinstripes are distracting me. I'd much rather prefer.
Wait, don't start, Stephen.
I'd much rather prefer.
Your grill is distracting me.
Well,
I'm trying to fight your grill with my pinstripes.
That's what. Well, I'm thinking I'm gonna be cross-eyed by the time. Stephen A, we need you back, man, because I need to diffuse, this pinstripe guy.
Yeah.
I'll be back tomorrow, bro. I'll be back tomorrow.
That's a well-dressed man right there. See that? See how the polka dot is sitting right there and it's not overly done? Yours, I'm confused. I don't know, play tic-tac-toe on you.
I told you, if you're afraid of me, you can hide behind his big-headed monitor.
Okay, guys.
We'll play
all right, we got it. We did the dozens. We get it. We get it. Tell us a little bit about the album. I know some people would think it's a strange collaboration, but it is not. Tell us.
Well, basically, as a writer, I like to find parallels in the lives of myself and the community that I come with, and something that might be a little obscure or out of the box. And there's so many things that are in common with myself and Jerry. And when you just go into the studio and you just vibe out, he gives me enough foundation to create songs on it. It's just like when you're writing a paper and you have to have a method of development. A lot of the things that he says lay a foundation or a method of development to the things I'm writing, and it all comes together as one big cohesive story.
You said this was probably your most personal album?
Absolutely.
And so people listen to it. What are we hearing about you?
Well, just my opinions on love and, the pressures of setting the bar high for yourself and, everywhere that I've been mentally for the past 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So, in all seriousness, the theme song that you wrote and recorded for this show is a big deal to us.
Yes.
It did help put us on the map.
It did.
I appreciate it.
And it's really caught on with our viewers wherever we go. The rock concert shows that we do, they sing it. They know every word to it.
Every single word.
And just reflect back. How did it come together in your head that day? Do you remember?
Well, yeah. We was in the studio, and my man Stally, his album's out right now, Ohio. Shout out to him. So we wanted to kind of do it like a cipher, back and forth. You know what I'm saying? There were actually guidelines that we had to follow that kind of hindered the direction that it was originally going to go. But I was feeding off the vibe that I had in the studio. Steven was there. We just had a vibe. Everybody was having a vibe with the beat. And, we just made it do what it do. However, I would be excited to do a new one because the rapper, the artist, the creator in me always wants to create new things. And, I think it might be time for a new spin. But that's up to you
We
guys.
can roll with that.
Yeah, we like it.
I would love to.
So you're saying you have grown?
Absolutely. I mean, we grow every day, Skip.
Yes, we do.
What's the reception when you're out in the street? And do people often say to you, oh, I know that you did the first take thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every morning. If you can best believe my Twitter every morning, somebody's going to say, I love it, I hate it, I'm tired of it, I can't live without it. It's all, it's a staple in the morning. Just say what? Say what? It's a staple. Like, you know it's time to get up and get to it when you hear, say what? Say what? And Ndamukong is not a Lion anymore, so
so we took that out. Yeah, we worked on it.
Oh, yeah, I did?
Yeah, we had to.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right, so let's talk some sports. NBA, shall we? Mm-hmm. Who you have going to the finals?
Well, I honestly think that my Wizards have a decent shot, and I'm not just being a homer. I think if we get ourselves together and towards the end of the regular season and go into the playoffs with some more momentum, we might have an opportunity. But let's just not be a homer for 1 second and omit that, because I am an employee of the Washington Wizards. I would say Golden State and Cleveland.
Golden State.
Going way out on the limb with those. Yeah.
No.
Taking the chalk, right?
Well, I mean, sometimes look at the national championship in basketball. It's two #1 seeds.
They are.
Like, what you want me to do? I'm going to say Milwaukee. Would that appease you?
Well, you could say the Wizards if you believe it, but you don't believe it.
I did.
I can tell you don't believe it.
I said it, actually.
Yeah? And then you backed off.
You know,
That's
do this
okay.
today.
So what do you think of my San Antonio Spurs?
I think they're old.
Who, by the way, they beat your guy LeBron and the Heat by a record margin in last year's finals.
Yeah.
It was 4-1. It was blowout city.
Well, I think, no shade, but when you can bench your whole team for half the season, squeeze into the playoffs, and everybody's fresh, I think that does could create some type of.
Oh, you think that's unfair?
No, it's not unfair. It's good strategy.
Outlawed?
Strategy.
Oh, you
I don't
should
think
force them to play guys for 40 minutes?
I don't think so. I'm just saying it does create some type of advantage. It's a loophole, and
it's a loophole to rest your guys.
Like for multiple games for no reason. There's no injury. Well. He did not play today. Coach's decision. He's old.
Stephen A. He says
the Wizards.
He says it's a loophole. Your take on his suggestions for the finals?
Well, first of all, I'm so thankful for y'all including me in this conversation with a young brother. I guess y'all got it covered, huh? Let me say this to y'all.
I forgot you were on the show.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I know you did.
And
Terry too, but that's okay.
I
it's
did
all right.
not. Did I just bring you in? I got you in, my brother.
Yeah. When we're about to go. But anyway, Washington Wizards, let me get back to that for a quick second. Wale, what the hell's been going on with them? Since you're an employee of this, what has been going on with the Washington Wizards? At one time, I thought they were going to be a threat to a Cleveland
I remember
or an
asking you that
Atlanta.
after one of the games. I saw you back there. You didn't look too convinced back then. I remember that.
No, I did not. That's right.
I think it's just the middle of the season slump. Everybody goes through that. Like we're just becoming part of NBA's elite. We still got some old habits, and that come from not being a very successful franchise for so many years. But I think it's just the middle of the season funk a little bit, and I think we're gonna rev that engine up, and we're gonna regroup, and DC will be rising once again.
Speaking of LeBron James,
yes,
if we could, in the past you've been on the show as the LeBron publicist and apologist.
Okay.
And I want to know what you thought of LeBron getting his tail beaten by my Spurs and then turning tail and running home to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I mean, first of all, your condescending tone is not appreciated on this side of the table. I don't know how Curry feels about that. But,
she hates it. She despises me.
No, I'm not going to give you your condescending behavior back. I'll just.
You're going to be generous.
Absolutely.
Yes, you're going to be a gentleman and generous.
I'm a dignified champion.
Yes, you are.
Pun intended.
Yes, or maybe.
Maybe pun intended.
Yep.
So, well, they won. They were outcoached. To my belief, I think they were outcoached. They were out hustled. Sometimes the better team doesn't win. You know what I'm saying? I believe the Heat were the better physically the better team, but the stars aligned, and they got out hustled, they got outplayed, and I think they got their soul snatched. And
they did.
And the Spurs won. They were outcoached, and they had a plan. They stuck with it. When you get razzled and you get, it's just like, it'd just be like Butler beating Kentucky or something like that. Like
you get that big upset. Huh?
You got a coach. You got a great coach, and you got, like a Princeton beating Duke back in the day, like straight up just sticking by the playbook, and stuff like that. I do believe they're a talented team, but I don't think the better team won.
So is that? Are you saying? Do you blame LeBron for leaving for Cleveland?
I mean, coming from knowing him, those guys, and you're good friends with them as well. Their city matters so much to them, and you can't you can't knock a guy for wanting to go back and bring something to a city. Miami's already a city that's rich in economics and tourism and things of that nature. You can't blame a guy for saying, this is my hometown. You know, I've matured as a player. I've learned a lot about the game. I've got a belt under my possession now. So now let me go over here back home and take these things that I've learned and become a leader and show these young guys how to play some ball and, you know, do it right for my town. You can't blame a guy for that.
But if you were a Dwayne Wade or a Bosh or a Pat Riley even, how much would you hold it against LeBron that he left you?
Absolutely none.
None?
They're grown men. They're grown men, and the grown man is going to do what he has to do. Dwayne Wade might not end his career in Miami.
3 weeks from today, we're on the road, folks. First take at the fight in Vegas, counting down to Money in Mayweather. Packy, actually. The complexes will be at the MGM Grand Pool Complex. Follow us there Wednesday, April 29th through Friday, May 1st. Again, the MGM Grand Pool Complex, April 29th through Friday, May 1st. Doors open at 5:30 a.m. local time. The show is live from 7 to 9 a.m. Come check us out in Vegas. And speaking of Vegas and the fight, Wale's still hanging out with us. Will you be in Las Vegas?
I'm not sure, man. I don't think those tickets are economically, you know, I don't know. We might go over there, but I think you might get the more bang for your buck if you just watch it somewhere in private.
I agree with that.
You know?
Okay, so we got to talk to
I like
Mayweather.
the commentating as well.
Mayweather.
Yeah.
Why? Make the case.
Well, Mayweather, I think Mayweather in a split decision. Take it for what you want, but I think they're already planning on the sequel.
Oh.
You know? When you're charging $100 for a pay-per-view fight, I think you're thinking sequel already. I think, you know, I think that if people really get too much involved in the video packages and the hype and the first 48 and all that other stuff, I think you're going to be sadly mistaken, because there's going to be 2 boxes in there that are super strategic, very safe, very careful. Nobody's going to really take risks, because you know, this is a fight that they've been thinking of, dreaming about for years. Nobody wants to be the one to make the first mistake. I think Floyd will, you know, he's the superior athlete, so that will put him over. But I think they're going to probably be a lot of gloves hitting gloves, gloves hitting elbows, and a lot of tying each other up. And it's not going to be like one of those Sugar Ray, Duran matches. There's 2 fighters that are going to be very, very safe.
So you think it's going to be a little tedious to watch for people who are expecting high action,
However, there are boxing fans that enjoy the patient boxing matches and things of that nature. So if you're expecting a slugfest, you better look at the undercard or something like that.
Stephen A., let's bring you in on this. He said the decision has already been decided and there will be a sequel.
Well, we definitely appreciate Wale for a lot of different things. Obviously, boxing. I'm here for you, bro. I'm here for you.
I think
because
you just got
when
insulted.
when you say a split decision, there's no way. I mean, listen. First of all, Floyd wouldn't get a split decision. If it were that close, they'd give it to Pacquiao. That's number one, because so many people want Floyd to lose. Number 2, I think that Manny Pacquiao is incapable of being passive. That's why they call him the Pac-Man. He keeps coming, and he throws punches in bunches. And I think that he's going to set himself up for a fall. I'm predicting that Mayweather is going to take him out in the 11th round. I don't think it's going to be a decision. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Wale. This is boxing. A one punch can change anything. I'm fully aware of the fact that Manny Pacquiao, if he catches Floyd right, that could be it. And Floyd Mayweather could have the first loss of his career. This is boxing. We all understand that. But looking at it on its face, Floyd Mayweather is just too much of a superior boxer. He's a wizard defensively. And Manny Pacquiao only knows one way. As great as he is, I'm talking about in terms of his pace, he only knows one way. He doesn't lay back and wait for anything. He throws punches. He's coming for Floyd. He wants this bad. And that's going to play right into Floyd's hands. And as Roy Jones Jr. articulated, he's going to force Mayweather to take him out.
Who's promoting
and that is what I believe will happen.
Is it Golden Boy?
Well, joint.
Mayweather.
And
Mayweather, top rank.
You might got a check coming in.
I like that. Touche.
You might got a check.
Yeah.
I think he got a check coming in.
Let me
He's sold me.
Wale,
So
I can prove that's not true. I can prove that's not true.
When you put
I
up
can absolutely prove that's not true.
the work tomorrow in the belly,
you want me to tell you how?
I know what's going on.
Want me to tell you how? I can prove that that's not true because I'm still here working.
Yeah,
If I was on that payroll, I'd be paid so low that I wouldn't need to work.
That suit looks a little European.
That suit is looking a little European on you, brother.
Yeah, hey.
Armani or something?
Stephen A. said you got a Bentley in the parking lot.
Trust me,
Tom
Stephen A.
Ford, exactly. Golden boy. Hush, hush. This is going to be a great fight, slugfest.
Trust me, Stephen A. doesn't need any more money.
He's
got
He's
his...
set?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Well,
He's set? He's all set.
Alberto.
Yeah.
There
you go. He went Alberto.
You
Alberto. They got the Alberto.
I am done. He hit it with Alberto. Okay, go on.
Now, let me point out that unlike my partner, Stephen A. Smith, I respect your boxing knowledge. He just insulted your boxing knowledge.
I did not.
Yes, he did.
You will not turn me against Stephen A.
I thank you.
Are you trying to do that?
I'm trying.
Okay.
Just give me a chance. Give me a
My
chance.
man.
How much do you respect Pacquiao's punching power in this fight?
It's an anomaly. Like the velocity and the frequency in which he throws punches is crazy. But this is a multi-billion-dollar business. I'm sure Floyd is being prepared for that. I'm sure he's prepared for that. And I also know that Manny knows that Floyd is ready for that. So maybe he might switch it up a little bit. Maybe he might throw a little bit less punches. Maybe he might try to drain Floyd out and throw him later on in the fight.
Maybe.
I don't think he's going to be the Manny Pacquiao that we're used to seeing because everybody's probably have to change their game plan a little bit for this fight. It's that big. It's probably one of the biggest fights of the past 15 years.
Sure.
It's that big. And I don't think you're going to get the standard Floyd Mayweather or the standard Manny Pacquiao.
How much is Floyd prepared for being 38 years of age up against punches in bunches, as Stephen A. said?
This is a guy who literally swims in money and counts money as a hobby. I think he's pretty prepared. I think he knows what's at stake. I think he knows his legacy is at stake. I think he knows that I believe that Floyd Mayweather is under the philosophy is that if he loses this match, nothing matters. And I think knowing Floyd, I don't know him well, but I know enough to know he's a very proud man. And I think that he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that his legacy remains.
All right, how nervous is he? Roy Jones Jr. was on the show and he said they both are nervous. In your opinion, how nervous is Floyd about this fight?
I think as soon as that first punch, as soon as he gets hit with his first zinger, I think all that nervousness goes out the window and it turns into a fight. Although high stakes, it turns into a fight. And I think everybody's nervous. And as soon as Justin Bieber hits his first note walking down Floyd Mayweather, when he walks him down, I think it might go away.
May I say something to both Skip and Wale about this? This is the one thing when I spent some time with Floyd, and yes, I was hanging in a Bentley. I will openly admit that, Wale.
Probably yours.
I would say it was not mine. It was not mine. I would not buy a Bentley. I'm not that. I don't have that much money. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. When I was with Floyd, in all seriousness, guys, what you just brought up resonates because Floyd is quick to point out that he's been on this stage before. And Pacquiao don't know what he's in for because he don't know what he asked for. I can respect where Floyd is coming from. But in my estimation, that's the one thing I disagree with Floyd about, Skip. I don't believe Floyd has been on this stage before. See, when Floyd was, even though he was undefeated, Oscar De La Hoya was in Floyd's position. He was the A-lister. Floyd was on a come-up despite an unblemished record, and it was a big fight for him in terms of gathering and capturing the acclaim he believed he so richly deserved. Canelo Alvarez, big fight, but a big puncher, a guy that walks around heavier than Floyd. If Floyd, for some reason, had ended up losing that fight, we would have all understood to some degree because Canelo Alvarez is considered a super welterweight, junior middleweight, bigger guy, not fighting at catch weights, walks around bigger, stronger, heavier puncher. So Floyd's brilliance, comes shining through, but the expectations weren't the same. In this particular fight, regardless of how big it is for both, it's pressure on Manny too. But because Manny Pacquiao has lost before, it would be just another loss.
Several times.
Floyd has never lost. And so, in Floyd's mind, everything is at stake, regardless of what he says. Everything is at stake. He is unblemished record, you know, even though it shouldn't be, his legacy, you know, people talking, chirping about him, you know, his belief that he's the greatest ever, all of this other stuff. Manny Pacquiao is literally in a position to come and take everything that Floyd has worked for his entire career.
Yep.
And as unfair as that is, I think Floyd knows it, and as a result, that's going to elevate him to another level. See, everybody thinks that because he knows that, he may fold. I'm saying no. It's because Floyd knows that no matter what you have seen from Floyd, it will be nothing compared to what he will display for you on May 2nd. I think we will see the greatest we have ever seen from Floyd Mayweather.
There you go. Make your
Just
case,
like
sir.
that check is in the mail. Thank you, Golden Boy.
Thank you, Golden Boy.
I'm just being honest.
Okay. Now,
I'm just being honest.
can I rebut that and just be honest?
You can
From what
try.
I've heard from Freddie Roach and others in the Manny Pacquiao camp, I remind both of you, I educate both of you to the fact that Manny Pacquiao has waited 5 long years for this night and this night only.
Right.
So you can give me all the 48 no's you want to give me. Manny Pacquiao has been on a mission to talk this man into finally taking this fight, if not shame him into taking this fight, which he finally did, publicly shamed him, till he finally had to say, okay, I'll fight you. And now Manny Pacquiao is going to make a statement that he has wanted to make for 5 long years, because he does not like anything about Floyd Mayweather, especially what he has stood for outside
Are
the
you trying to
ring.
modify the significance of any of his losses right now? Are you trying to diffuse them?
I am
because it's almost like you're
because
saying
he didn't care.
It's almost like you're saying,
He didn't
okay,
care.
okay, guys, now I'm for real.
Okay.
That's almost like you saying like
He was fighting Juan Manuel Marquez.
then you win.
Okay.
Then you win. If
Okay.
you're fighting,
It was his 4th time
doesn't
fighting
matter.
him.
You win. You got
Your mind wanders,
if
you wander
if you
into a
got 3
punch.
months to prepare for one date. It doesn't matter. You have to. You're a professional boxer. Your objective is to seek and destroy, no matter who you're fighting. If you have 4, how many losses? You have 4 or 5. Well, I don't even look at you with the same. Once the guy hit on that button and he met the ground and he was dizzy and all that, it was already tainted for me. I thought he had a
Dizzy?
shot.
Do
I
you
thought he had a
understand?
He
That
was
the 4th
asleep.
time he's
Yeah,
having to fight that same guy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The 4th time?
They
Are you
clean him
kidding
up.
me?
Clean him up 4
Oh,
times. then.
please.
So I gotta let you win because I'm tired of fighting.
Okay, well, just watch what happens. You're going to see a whole new Manny Pacquiao.
You might be
tonight on May
reacquainted with
2nd.
that canvas again.
Yeah.
That's what might happen.
That's right.
Well, so now you just
Mike,
let him talk you
Mike,
into that?
No,
you
didn't
said
talk me
split
into that.
decision. Now you're saying he's going to get
Mike,
knocked down?
I'm saying, Mike, you're acting like Manny Pacquiao's indestructible, but he's been destructed before.
Well, he has, because he let his mind wander and he wandered into a punch, and he was
I didn't
ahead
say
on
that.
every card.
you gave him
He was ahead on every card.
an excuse.
You know,
No,
Skip's
he deserved an
Skip's acting like he got caught with a blow, got stunned, couldn't get up inside of
Truth.
10 seconds. The brother
Truth.
was put to sleep.
He was not put to
All
right,
sleep.
gentlemen.
Playing chess.
According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, LaShawn McCoy still hasn't spoken to his former coach, Chip Kelly, and has yet to hear Kelly's reasons for trading him to the Bills last month. But Shady has a theory of his own, and here's what he had to say about Chip Kelly. I don't think he likes or respects the Stars. I'm being honest. I think he likes the fact that it's Chip Kelly and the Eagles. LaShawn also added that Chip has called him twice, but he decided not to answer the phone calls. Wale's still hanging out with us. Stephen A., let me give this to you first before we have Wale respond. Do you think that Shady has a point?
I've been said he had a point. In my opinion, if he doesn't have a point, only they know. All I'm saying is that from the outside looking in, it's a legitimate question. And when I said the word uncomfortable, we made headlines, and I was accused of calling Chip Kelly something I never, ever said, nor that I ever.
Whoops.
Chip Kelly did that.
He did. I'm simply inquiring about something, and that is simply this. Deshaun Jackson is one of the elite deep threats in the National Football League. A year earlier, he was let go, and trash was being talked about him while he was on his way out the door. A year later, LaShawn McCoy, one of the top 3 running backs in football, along with Jeremy Maclin, who's now with Kansas City, they were allowed to walk out the door. But Riley Cooper stays on your squad. And you're talking about how you want the culture to be a certain way.
Preach.
All I'm saying is that I have a right And if we want to sit there and incorporate stuff into it, fine. That's not where I'm going, but I'll say it. I'm a black man, and that rubs me the wrong way. I look at Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, Jeremy Maclin, 3 individuals on a team
Stars.
with a guy by the name of Riley Cooper that can't shine their shoes. He stays. They're not there. I believe that along with LaShawn McCoy, along with a bevy of Philadelphia Eagles will Skip Bayless, I'll say for the record, I have spoken to personally, along with Philadelphia Eagles fans in the streets of Philadelphia, which is my second home. I've spoken to them. I am asking a question because it is a question a whole bunch of people associated or who have love for the Philadelphia Eagles, is what they're asking. How is that possible? Now, if LaShawn McCoy wants to put it his way, more power to him. I wish the brother nothing but the best. Could it be a lack of affinity for star players? Sure. I don't know, but I'm going to say it again. Skip Bayless himself, who's been covering the NFL for damn near 40 years, has always said to me, it's a win-now league, it's about talent, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to leave it with you again. Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn McCoy, gone. Riley Cooper, still there. Y'all figure that out. I got a question about that.
Yeah, give us a quick thought.
Yeah, you make sure you made sure to say quick too. But I'm just disappointed I haven't heard a SAT word from Stephen yet today. I'm waiting on my coagulation or whatever.
He'll make one up.
I need one. But in all seriousness, I firsthand understand what it feels like because I had a certain way that I played football when I was playing football, and it was more so like in the LaShawn McCoy kind of vicinity of playing. And I went to, when I was recruited by several schools, and I ended up playing for Joe Walton, who was a former NFL coach, and the offense was catered around a tight end of all positions. You know, the tight end was always an all-conference, all this and all that. The way he would want us to run the ball was very north and south. Like east and west would get you slid down the depth chart. But that's all I knew. I run by instinct and stuff like that. I found myself at the bottom of the depth chart. When I transferred to Virginia State, I ran the same way. I saw myself as a star. You know what I'm saying? Some coaches just don't like that. And so for Jeremy for Shady, for him, I could just say, devil's advocate, I'm going to just give Chip Kelly the benefit of the doubt and say he wants a north and south runner. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And maybe somebody who doesn't have a celebration when they score, maybe that might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Jackson, they gave him the tag as of a me guy. You know what I'm saying? So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt of that. The Jeremy Maclin, I cannot explain in any kind of way. But I do think that Chip Kelly does want it to be Chip Kelly and the Eagles.
Yeah.
I think he's going after the Bill Belichick school of this is the system. You guys are going to run this system. You guys are going to drink your protein shakes. We're going to do mathematical equations to run the offense, and that's how it's going to run. And if you have a problem, you can leave.
Well said. Stephen A. Smith, quick thought. You know that I had an even bigger issue with Riley Cooper when he spat that evil word out of his mouth at that country concert than even you did. Yeah. I wanted him gone from the team. So that's one issue. Now let's get back to this one. Is it possible what LaShawn is alluding to is really not racial? It's just, speaking of me, it's that Chip Kelly just wants to be the star of this show. And again, we've had Chip on the show. He walks in, he's pretty full of himself. He likes to come across as the smartest man in the room. I think maybe he's remaking the Eagles. You can call it the Belichick syndrome if you want. But in his image, where he just wants to be the go-to guy, where the press comes to him, he wants his system to be the star, and he presides over the system. Is that possible here, that's going on?
He wants to be touted as a genius.
I'm saying to you, Skip, that's very possible. I'm not trying to say that it's racial. What I'm saying to you is that if you are a black person, you have a right to ask that question because of what you just finished saying about Riley Cooper. And so, what are you trying to say? Because it might not be about race at all. It might be a cultural thing. Well, even if it's a cultural thing, why are they gone but Riley Cooper's there? You can pick it any way you want to. It still brings you back to Chip Kelly, explain to me what your thinking is, because even from a cultural perspective, how in God's name can you justify making all of those moves while still keeping Riley Cooper on and claiming you're trying to win?
Yep.
And I believe McCoy is one of the top 3 running backs, in my personal opinion.
Well, he is.
I think
there's no doubt.
Some can argue he's the best running back. He can make something out of nothing. He can hit a home run. But, you know, I think Chip Kelly's philosophy is very conservative. They don't take any time. They run their plays. They want all positive yards, even if it's 1 yard. They don't want any negative yards. They don't want any dancing in the background. He doesn't care very much for the home run hitter running back.
All I know for sure is Chip Kelly is now officially on the hot seat in Philadelphia. It's his show.
He better start off.
Yeah, he has to show up and show out. You're right. All right, so we're out of time. The album, About Nothing.
Thank you so much. You look good in that hat, boo.
Oh, I'm setting it up for you. I wore it. I told you.
No,
all right, you guys, check it out. For like 5 seconds. I can't mess up my hair. Wale, thank you so much for being here. Stephen A., we have to wish our good friend goodbye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Soon. I'll talk to you soon.
You guys love each other. You guys handshake. You love one another.
I hate your suit, but I love you.
3 weeks from tomorrow, First Take on the road, ladies and gentlemen. You want to see us live? We will be at the MGM Grand Pool Complex Wednesday, April 29th through Friday, May 1st. Doors open 5:30 a.m. local time. The show will be live from 7 and 9 a.m. And speaking of the fight and First Take on the road, Stephen A. Skip, we got Sugar Ray Leonard on the show.
Oh, yes, sir.
What do you think he'll say?
I think he'll pick Manny Pacquiao. What do you think, Stephen A.?
Please, he'll pick Mayweather, because he knows what it's like to be a great boxer.
He knows what's up. Did you change your pick today after Wale and I talked you out of it?
What pick?
You're picking Pacquiao now, right?
Never.
Are you insane? Are you insane?
No, I'm not insane.
Please.
I was making such good points, I thought you were starting to wilt.
I'm sorry. I don't recall a good point you made yet.
Outside of the Ambien, folks, everyone's time for bed. We're going away. We're going to sleep right now. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Thank you to Flo and Wale. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can catch First Take Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN2.
ESPN Radio. With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
A new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals.
That one is gone.
The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.